Hi, folks. My name is Dave McBride. I'm the Vice Principal of Enrollment Management at Upper Canada College, and I want to thank you for joining us to learn a bit more about one of Canada's top independent schools, UCC. We're located in Toronto. We're an all-boys school with 1,200 students from senior kindergarten through to grade 12. UCC is an IB continuum school, meaning all students do the IB diploma. We're primarily a day school with what I call a boutique boarding program from year 8 to year 12 with 88 students from Canada and around the world. And UCC provides transformational learning experiences that foster the development of head, heart, and humanity and inspire each student to make a lasting and positive impact on their world. I'm really pleased to be joined tonight by three wonderful guests, one graduate and two parents who are going to share their UCC experience and impressions with you. And I want to assure you, we have not rehearsed this. Our panelists did not receive answers from me in advance. So what you hear tonight is their opinion of UCC, not any official school response, okay? So first of all, we're joined by Cal, who graduated from UCC in 2017. Cal, how about you give us a bit of a brief introduction and share with viewers what you're doing now?
For sure, yeah, hi everyone, my name's Cal. I was from Whitby, Ontario. I went to UCC for 4 years, came in as a year two, and it's been 4 years now since I've been there. It's crazy. So in those 4 years, I was at Princeton University studying engineering, just graduated, and now moving on to the Perelman School of Medicine to do an MD PhD. I also run a nonprofit on the side called Minds on Math. Just love to talk to you guys today. Really appreciate it.
Cal, thanks so much. And from when Cal was a student to where we are today, we've changed our terminology. So Cal mentioned he was in year two. That's year 9, actually, or grade 9. Because we like to be a little bit different at UCC. So he started in year 9, was here for 9 through 12. So as I mentioned, we have two current parents who are joining us for this session. Christina, who has 2 boys who will be at UCC in September. So Christina, why don't you say hello and share a bit about yourself and your family?
Hi everybody, I'm Christina, and my son Nicholas started at UCC in year 3. So he's about to go into year 6. So that was a few years ago now. And we're extremely excited to have our youngest son starting in SK this upcoming September also. We're huge fans of the school, and the boys are just so excited to be in school together for the first time ever. So we can't wait.
That's great. We'll be happy to have them here in person in September. And also joining us today, current parent Omar, who has 1 son at UCC. Omar, thanks for being with us tonight. And how about you give us a little bit of an introduction?
Okay, it's my pleasure. Thank you for having me. So my name is Omar Usman, and my son is Yassine Usman. And I had him start in SK, and he is currently starting 7th grade, hopefully in September. I have a bit of a unique perspective myself because I am an old boy. I graduated in 93, and I'm sure we'll get into, once you ask some of these questions, David, as to why I decided to send Yassine to UCC.
I'm happy. We're always happy when old boys, as we call our graduates, when old boys send their sons to UCC. So thrilled about that. So folks, we have a number of questions to get through. So I'm gonna play the host and ask questions, and sort of just give you free rein to go ahead and answer it as you see fit. Okay. So Cal, we're gonna start with you, our young UCC and Princeton graduate. What did you appreciate most about UCC during your time here? And if you think back to 4 years, how has your perspective changed, if at all, now that you are 4 years removed from UCC?
Yeah, no, for sure. That's a great question. I think coming into UCC, the biggest thing for me was being able to pursue all of my interests. I came in as someone that had interest in everything. I was a lot into sports, a lot into music, and obviously academics as well. Those were my main 3 pillars, if you will. And the decision to come to UCC for me was being able to do all of those things at a very high caliber and with like-minded peers. And I think UCC was great for that. It just really allowed me to explore myself and also to engage with as many people as possible that were in those fields. Having been moved 4 years away from that now, I think I really appreciated that time and being able to do that, because as I get older, it's getting hard to do those things. So just being able to be at UCC and be able to just be immersed in everything was an amazing experience for me that I really cherish, because it's getting harder and harder to do those things as I go forward.
Great. Just a quick aside about Cal. I think he may be the only soccer player who was a leading scorer from. You started the varsity team in year 9, didn't you? Like your first
I
year
did.
here, weren't you playing varsity? I think he may have been the leading scorer for 4 years on the varsity soccer team. I don't think anyone's done that before. So great. Thanks, Cal. Christina, maybe we'll start with you. Why did you choose UCC for your sons? And in what way is UCC what you expected? And is there a way that it's not what you expected?
Absolutely. So it was a real process choosing schools for us. As I mentioned earlier, my eldest son, Nicholas, started in year 3. We knew that we wanted an all boys education. I had gone to an all girls myself as a student, and we strongly believed that girls and boys learn differently and that there would be a huge benefit to our son from choosing an all boys school. We have a daughter. She's at another IB school, and she was there before Nicholas joined UCC. And we were just really, really amazed at the IB program and the way it encouraged kids to think analytically and to make connections across different fields. And we looked at Nicholas and we thought, you know what, that's really how his brain works. He's a kid who asks a lot of questions, who's always wanting to know how things fit together. And we felt that the IB program would be an amazing fit for him. So that was a huge draw for us. But in addition to that, the campus was just something that absolutely amazed us. We don't live terribly far from the school. And when we weren't a family at the school, we would drive by it all the time and just stare at the acres and be absolutely in awe at all of the facilities. And I remember when he was about 5 years old and not a student at the school, Nicholas was able to do a summer camp there. And he came home and he's like, they have a pool, they have a skating rink. It's absolutely incredible. They have so much ground. It's just fantastic. So that was a huge draw for us. It did seem like a big school. It was something that for a little while we thought, well, you know, when is the right time to make the move? We didn't do it for SK. We did it for year 3. And we thought at the time, is this the right time? Is it something we do down the road? Because we were a little bit worried that our little guy would be a little bit lost in a big environment. And I think the thing that surprised me the most is how unfounded that fear was. Because at the prep, it's a small school within a big school. I mean, it really feels like a tight-knit community, a small environment where you can go and the parents know who you are, the staff knows who you are, everybody chats with you, and there's just this strong sense of community and belonging. So for us, that was unexpected, but in an extremely pleasant way, and we've been thrilled ever since.
That's great. It's great. This campus really is pretty magnificent. So Omar, you're an old boy, so you had some inside information before choosing UCC for your son. So why did you choose UCC? And the same question is for Christina. In what way is UCC what you expected, and how is it not met that?
Yeah, so I started in 9th grade, and I had the benefit of actually experiencing the boarding program as well as the day student program. And it was really interesting because when I graduated from UCC, I would say fast forward to where I am now, my closest friends are actually old boys that I spent 4 years with. And so what I value now may not necessarily be the same thing that I valued 10 years ago or 15 years ago, fresh coming out. I mean, truth be told, probably closer to 25 years ago. But really now it's actually the relationships that I really value. And, the peers and the people that I spent my time with. And interestingly enough, on campus, there are other old boys that are of my generation that are also sending their kids, their boys to the school. And the way we connect and the way we have this common thread amongst us, it's amazing. So when I feel that way, when I go to events or when I speak to my friends that are old boys, that sort of was the initial draw for me. I felt like the opportunities were amazing when I was there. What I find fascinating about the school now is how it's changed and how it's, in my opinion, how it's improved, how forward thinking it is. And I'm really impressed to see how my son Yassine is really gravitating towards, the changes that I see. When I went, there wasn't the IB program. Now that there's this IB program, I mean, I see that it's global, not just in terms of the programming, not just in terms of what they're teaching, but even in terms of the educators, in terms of the experiences that these students have. So I'm very impressed so far.
Great. Wonderful. Cal, what do you think differentiates UCC from other schools?
Yeah, well, a number of things for sure. I think the main or the obvious ones in my mind come from things that Christina and Omar just mentioned, both the facilities and also the connections. But I think more so than that, there are a number of areas that UCC is very advanced in. I would say in terms of excelling in various areas. Again, as I said earlier, that's one of the draws for me was just the academic rigor, especially with the IB program now, is something that has well prepared me for college and beyond. And that's something I'm extremely grateful for. Also being able to do the extracurriculars at such a high level. However, I think even further than that was the interactions with the teachers and being able to have conversations just on a daily basis with these teachers that know their stuff and not only know the topic, but also know life and know the world around them, and just having conversations about how different things in the news correlate with the world and how those happen has been really instilling for me. And the last thing I wanted to talk about is that UCC, they really develop leaders and they develop responsible citizens. I feel like having graduated from UCC, I have kind of changed my perspective on a lot of things. And I'm no longer just trying to push pen and paper and do equations, but really be able to have discussions with people and figure out what problems are really pressing in terms of how to fix a number of issues on a global scale. And for me, I'm going into medicine now. I'm not just trying to design a device to fix a problem, but know how that device affects global health and people in various countries. So just all of these things have been really engaging for me and really broadened my perspective. So I really appreciate that.
Great, thanks, Cal, and thanks for being so mature at such a young age. Holy cow. Omar, what do you think is the biggest impact that UCC's had on your son?
So, it's interesting. My son is sandwiched between two sisters. He's got an elder sister and a younger sister. And growing up, I noticed that he was really introverted. He was more than happy to sort of kind of sit on the sidelines and, kind of just blend in with the surroundings. And, what's interesting about UCC is the ability of the educators and the community to really sort of extract these potentials that they see in our children. So my son went from being super introverted, really shy, to, he just was elected captain for Greenhouse for 7th grade. And on his own, he decided that he was going to write a song, and he delivered this song on video. And I thought, when I'm looking at this video and watching my son, and then looking back at old videos of the same boy, it brought tears to my eyes, because I'm looking at this child develop, and he's really excelling in ways that I never thought he would. And I think that was, to go back to one of your points, I think that one of your questions, I think what's amazing about the school is, number one, it's pursuit of excellence. Really, from the peers that are there, to the educators, to even the facilities. You want to do the best that you can do in an environment like this, which is really amazing. And yet it's still nurturing, I find. which is really fantastic. And I think that's the beauty of the prep. I found that when I came into the school in ninth grade, I was sort of this starstruck kid who was dropped into this campus, and all of a sudden I went from, a program or a school where they didn't have more than maybe 5 or 6 sports, to now all of a sudden, like, I could play rugby, I could play squash, I could play cricket, I could play football, I could do whatever I wanted to do. I could try and I could develop. So, I found like that's something that Yassine is really enjoying and taking to.
That's great. It's great to hear. Christina, what about you? What do you think is the biggest impact the school has had on your son?
I would say that my answer is very similar in many ways to what Omar just mentioned. So for Nicholas, what I've seen happen over his last 3 years at UCC is just a sense of confidence and responsibility coming out of him that are absolutely incredible. He's learned to take his education seriously, not through us hammering it down on him or anyone from the school pushing it on him, but from an internal drive that's been embedded in him because he loves school and because of the way that he's come to value his education. And he's a kid who's not necessarily naturally always the most responsible person. So for instance, I have to haggle him to make his bed in the morning every single day at 11 years old. But I never have to ask him to do his homework. And I never have to ask him what needs to be done or whether he's on top of things for studying, if he's ready for a test. He's got a drive from within him that makes him want to succeed. And I can think of at least a couple of occasions where he felt a little bit unsure about where he was at with his skills. And independently, he said to me, you know what, Mom, I'm going to reach out to so-and-so teacher and ask for extra help because I just want to be sure that I've got it. And
Wow.
did, and it was incredible. And then, obviously we've just come out of a very challenging school year with COVID, and I'd be chatting and commiserating with other parents who would tell me what a nightmare experience it was for them because they had to be on top of their kids and getting them on Zoom calls and making sure work was done was like pulling teeth. And I would sit there quietly and I would be like, not so much for us, because Nicholas on his own took the initiative to get to class on time and to do what needed to be done. And that's not to say that he knocked it out of the park every single time, but it was on him. It was his own initiative, and he wanted to own it. He didn't want someone else to be responsible for his work. And that's just his attitude towards school. He values his time so much at school that he wants to do his best and put in what he can. So that kind of level of responsibility is something that definitely has emerged throughout his time at UCC. And it's led to a confidence in him too, that he's now willing to be even more of a risk taker and to do more things that he otherwise might not have tried. Luckily for him, UCC has so many things to offer. So in non-COVID times when there were co-curriculars and he was able to do woodworking and cartoon animation and anything he could sign up for, he would. He's a very cerebral kid. He'll spend his day reading a book. He won't necessarily be the kid who wants to sign up for a sports team, but UCC encourages all kids to attempt to be on a team and to give it a try. And he found out, you know what, hey, that was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed doing basketball. I really enjoyed doing soccer. I can actually do this. I'm not as bad as I thought I would be. Maybe I can be an athlete. So that confidence and that responsibility have just been so phenomenal as parents for us to watch develop.
That's fabulous, and look, we know what a tough year it's been, and I'm not a teacher. I think our faculty have just worked so hard this year, but I'm impressed by the boys and the boys' resilience, and I think they made the most of the past year, and let's fingers crossed things are looking positive for September for a more return to normal. So, all right, I want to ask all three of you. When I looked at these questions, I'm like, this is a pretty tough question, but if UCC were to be represented as a person, what would its personality be like in only 3 words? So Cal.
First one I'm going to go with is resourceful.
I'm writing these down. This is good. Resourceful.
Oh no, okay, I'm putting it on record. Yeah, resourceful. On the surface level, obviously, we've established that The facilities are spectacular at UCC. I still remember just walking through the campus, just being in awe all the time. But on a more deep level, if there was something that wasn't on campus or the students didn't have access to, UCC was always there to support us in finding that and resourceful in being able to give us the different things. I really appreciate that as well. Second, I'm gonna hyphenate this one. This is critical thinking. And I just really appreciate, again, all the conversations with our teachers and just trying to promote us to think outside of ourselves and outside of the bubble, which UCC can be at times, but to think outside of that and how things affect the world. And lastly, empowering. UCC really allowed me to use my voice and to advocate for others. And I now acknowledge that I've been able to use that same kind of empowerment and help my peers along the way in order to do things. So I really appreciate that as well.
Great. All right, Cal. Christina, three words.
All right. My first word would be dedicated. I've been so unbelievably impressed by the staff and administration at UCC who've consistently been willing to go above and beyond to do whatever they need to do in order to help a family, help a student, and just help everyone achieve their personal best. So the level of dedication has been way more than I ever would have anticipated and has been just a huge surprise and so welcome. The second word that I would choose would be balanced. Again, you know, it's not the type of school where you have to be just a strictly athletic kid or you have to be just an artistic kid. There's room for everybody. They have an incredible arts program, incredible sports program, and everybody's encouraged to do a little bit of everything and just figure out, you know, you might end up finding out that you like something or that you're good at something that you didn't think you are. So being afforded those opportunities is just so tremendous. And then the last one, this one actually comes from my son, Nicholas, because he says it all the time. The last one is fun. So, you know, for me, I don't know, I'm not a student there, but it looks like fun. But he comes home every day saying that it doesn't feel like school. He just has so much fun. The teachers are incredible. It doesn't feel like learning. It's games, it's entertainment, but at the same time, they're absorbing all of these things without even realizing it. And in addition to the academic side, there are so many activities and events like A-Day and other events that involve the entire community and are such a pleasure to be a part of and just so much fun in normal times. So
Let's hope we're headed to fun again in September 2021. Omar, you're gonna bat clean up here. Three words.
This is gonna be really tough after those ones.
Yeah.
So I would probably say the first one is engaging. And the reason why is because the school and the educators and the community have this incredible ability, I find, to engage with the students, but also with the parents. And, you know, there's a reason why I feel this connection to the school even after the fact. You know, the fact that it can almost extract the best of these young boys to really kind of harness their strengths. And also at the same time, make some of their weaknesses strengths, I think is incredible. So I would say the second one is forward thinking, innovation. I think that UCC really works hard in terms of their strategic plan with respect to, and I think I mentioned this before, with respect to programming, but also in terms of their educators. I find that they're constantly trying to look ahead and see how they can stay at the forefront, which I really appreciate, you know, whether it's technology, whether it's facilities, whether it's even, like I said, the educators. And I would say the third one, I'm going to steal from Christina, is I agree with balance. You know, it's interesting. I was at a reunion. So Cal, you're going to go through this when you go to like your 20-year reunion. And I was at a reunion and I remember running into a classmate of mine. His name was Oliver Roop. Okay, so if Oliver's watching this, it's a shout out to Oliver Roop. And I remember saying to Oliver, he said, "Oh, do you have any kids?" We exchanged pleasantries. We ended up sitting next to each other at dinner. And he said, "Are you sending your son to UCC?" And I said, "Yeah, in fact, he's at UCC." And he's like, "I think that was the smartest move ever." And I said, "Well, you were, we used to call, so when I was at UCC started in 3rd grade. So we used to call the kids that started in the beginning survivors. And so I said, "Well, Roop, you were a survivor. I started in 9th grade. I was unsure. Should I send Yassine, from SK?" He said, "Omar, you're looking at a guy who was a so-called nerd in the prep, right? I participated in teams, but I never really felt like I belonged there. And I went from that to, in my leaving class year, I was in Little Theater. I was the College Times editor. I was a rower, and I won the medal that year. And you know what? I went to MIT, and I was so proud of Root, right? But it opened my eyes to the fact that this is a place where you can develop serious balance." Sorry, it was a long answer. I apologize.
No, look, that's great. And I've written down these 9 words, and I'm going to figure out a way to build these 9 words into what I do all year long. So I think those were great answers. Thank you to the 3 of you. Cal, I'm going to come back to you. If you could change one thing about UCC that would have made your 4 years here better, what would it be? Besides, if I'd been your senior house advisor, right?
Yeah.
But yeah.
I can't speak for the college now. Obviously, I'm 4 years out, and I'm sure a lot has been changed. But I feel like one thing that I would at least bring to the conversation is encouraging more conversations about diversity, specifically within the student body. So I don't want to say that there wasn't diversity at UCC, because that definitely is not the case. There's a number of initiatives that have been implemented since I was there. And I really appreciated the encouragement from UCC to allow us as students to also bring in speakers and a number of different initiatives in that regard. In my case, it was through the Black History Club, which is now called the Black Excellence Society, I think. And just really allowed students to create a space for that sharing. But at the same time, with any school or environment, I feel like as students acclimate to a space, sometimes it's easy for them to ignore or rather forget their culture at some points in a sense to fit in. And I feel like that happens. When that happens, it's really a shame, because that could be a really good learning lesson for all the other students involved. And what mitigated that for me at UCC was the teachers. I had a number of conversations, I remember, with people like Mr. Pascalides, Skatoza, Dr. Hammer, who would just bring in things from all over the world and perspectives on different things. But if you weren't in any of these cultural groups or perhaps an active participant in these conversations, I feel like some of that could be missed. And I would argue that interactions with our peers would be worth even more in that regard. So being able to encourage a safe space for students to just talk about these things verbatim without having a lot of authority in the room, for example, would really have appreciated in terms of my experience, and I think would be great for the boys in general.
Right. We're moving in that more and more in that direction, Cal, I think.
And I know for sure. And I've talked to a
Yeah.
number of teachers, and I think UCC is doing an amazing job
Yeah.
in that direction. And just would love to see it happen even more.
Yeah. We've all got work to do still. Omar, I'm going to start with you for this one. How would you describe the values of UCC and the values of the families in our community?
Yeah, I mean, I would say I would start off with like friendliness and inclusivity. I mean, I found that people really try to get you involved early, whether it's from the school staff to even other families. I find most families are super welcoming, which is great. I found that in terms of values, honesty is really important. It's really critical. Integrity is really critical for UCC. They have there's a very high benchmark. And I think that's part of why there's that pursuit for excellence. And that doesn't just translate to marks and athletics. It translates to how are you going to behave as a human being, right? So how are you going to treat your environment? How are you going to treat others that are not part of the UCC community? How are you going to treat your other family members? So, I mean, to Christina's point earlier, I found like Yassine brings home a lot of positive habits and attributes that he develops at the school. And, you know, for example, I think it's a great sign when, if and when my son misbehaves in some way, and my threat to him is, you know what, you're not going to school if you behave this way. And he's suddenly, you know, smartens up and everything is copacetic. Good sign.
It's a good sign. It's a good sign. It's a good sign. Christina, how would you describe the values of the school and the values of the families within our community?
It's a little tough going second on these questions because I end up echoing a lot of what Omar is saying here. But for me, the one word that really jumped out when thinking about this question was the word excellence. And that permeates a number of different things here. An excellence is something that's sought after by the staff, by the administration, by the school itself, in terms of teaching, in terms of academics, in terms of offerings. But it's also something that the boys are encouraged to pursue. So, and that means a different thing for a different child, right? And it's about meeting them at their level and figuring out what their personal best is and helping them achieve that. So, you know, finding your own excellence in an excellent environment. It's a lot of excellence, but I really feel like that's at the core of the college. And then the other word that jumps to mind is embedded in your question itself. It's community. We're all in it together. The boys are all in it together, and there's a place for everybody. And you know, the school motto, right? Never walk alone. You've always got someone has your back. You're with someone at all times. And there's a real sense from, you know, a parent community to the student body to just an overall feeling you belong to the UCC family. You are part of a community and there is room for you. So that's what I feel is most important.
Christine, it's interesting because we're just finalizing some of our marketing material for next year, including a major ad to go on our kids. And the firm we're working with, they suggested you'll never walk alone. And I don't know why we haven't actually ever used it in an ad, because I think it is so true. It's so much what the experience is. So I'm really happy that you raised that, because when I hear families say that, I'm like, okay, we're making the right decision with this ad. So you know, it's a song that the boys sing, and you know, Cal, I can remember in Laidlaw Hall, you guys putting arms around each other and singing the song. It's so much of who we are. So it's great. Thanks very much, Christina. I think that was great. I'm gonna ask the same question to all of you now. And Christina, since you had to go last on this one, we'll start with you. What would families find surprising about UCC? So people think they know who we are as a school. What would they find surprising about UCC?
You know, it's not a one-size-fits-all school. I hear it again and again from friends who have sons at other schools, and they're like, oh, I'm not sure my son's going to fit in. He's not athletic enough. He's not this. He's not that. And no, it's not like that at all. It's a diverse group of individuals, and there's room for everyone. As I said earlier, it's a place where you can explore your own interests, and you can learn at your pace, and you can find a spot for yourself that will allow you to grow in your own personal way. And I think that it would be really unfair for families to stereotype it based on whatever they've heard from, you know, 20 or 30 years ago, or what they've perceived by looking at the campus, because it's really an environment where all different kinds of boys can find a spot and feel equally at home.
Great. Omar, what do you think families would find surprising?
I think that families wouldn't realize, or they don't appreciate if they're not sort of at the school, that this is a place of opportunity, but that opportunity is yours for the taking. So if you choose to go and play If you want to shoot hoops, if you want to hoop, you can hoop. If you want to play ball, you can play ball. If you want to play cricket, you can play cricket. All these things are for you to try out. It's yours for the taking. And I think that what's great about UCC is they'll give you a gentle nudge. They'll tell you that, you know what, you got to do a sport, you got to do this, you got to do that. But part of that process of you taking that opportunity, there's growth in that. There's growth in that. And I think that what's great about UCC is the ability where the younger ones are nurtured, but the older ones have these opportunities that they got to jump at.
Great. Cal, what do you think families would find surprising?
Yeah, I think I've got two kind of things. First, I'm gonna try not to hop too much on the train of Christina, but I think there's a lot of hidden talents at UCC, and at least when I was applying, the conception was UCC was a sports school and an academic school, and they just do those things amazing. But in reality, they're an everything school. They really do everything, and they don't just do it at a level that is satisfactory. They do it at the best level possible, and I really appreciated being able to do that. And I played soccer, as we've established. I played in the bands, and I did a number of service opportunities, which brings me to my second point. I think service is another emphasis at UCC that sometimes gets brushed over, and it's something that through the CAS program and through the number of different programs at UCC, for me personally, was very influential in terms of my upbringing and what I'm doing now. So really appreciate it.
An everything school. You guys are giving me some unbelievable material that
I got you.
I don't want to use. I don't want to use an everything school. I love that. Why didn't you tell me that 4 years ago? Graduated. Oh, that's great. All right, great. Thanks, guys. All right. Last question for you, Cal. What advice would you give to a student who was beginning their UCC experience?
Take advantage, really. I would say that you're going to one of the best, if not the best school in North America. And I wouldn't let that get you to your head. You can't sit pretty. You have to take advantage of it, which means you have to wake up every day and be ready to learn and be ready to participate in as many things as possible. Be open-minded and explore all of your interests and even things that you may not be interested in. UCC has a really collaborative environment that allows you to do that. You don't get many opportunities to be in this space. It's so special. And I would really just say take advantage, for sure.
Right. Okay, good. All right. So Omar, I'll let you start with this one. What would your son, if I had your son on the call right now, what would he say about UCC?
Oh, he'd say fun. No doubt about it. He'd say fun.
It's nice to hear your child talk about school as fun, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, he loves everything about it. Actually, it worries me a little bit. Actually, I start wondering, like, are you really going to school, young man? What are you doing? You know what? My son, he has a great time at school. He enjoys the friendships. He enjoys the curriculum. I mean, he's not always thrilled about having to study for tests, right? Mm-hmm. But what's great is he has a really positive outlook, and at the end of the day, he has fun, and that's what you want. You want your kid to come home and smile and say they had a good day. Right?
You know, it's funny when I talk to new families after their sons have been here for a month or so, a lot of them they'll say, you know, it used to be hard to get him up and get him to go to school, and he can't wait to get to school now. So I hear that quite often. Christina, what do you think Nicholas would say if we had Nicholas on? What would he say about UCC?
Oh, I ask him the question all the time and have since he started at the college, and his answer is always best school ever. And it's funny that you mentioned that you hear about a lot of kids who are just, you know, jumping out of bed and rearing to go to school, because that's absolutely Nicholas. Every single morning, he's up without a fuss, clothes on, rushes downstairs and just eager to get into the car and get to school and see his buddies and get the day going every single morning. And we have this game that we've played together pretty much since he started at UCC. I pick him up in the afternoons and he gets in the car and I say to him, okay, on a scale of 1 to 10, I want you to rank your day, with 10 being the best and 1 being the absolute worst. And 99% of the time, he's like, it was a 10 out of 10. It was just a 10 out of 10. So, you know, he thinks
Wow.
it's fantastic. So much so that he was so incredibly eager for his little brother to join him there. He was just like, you're going to have so much fun. You're so lucky. You're going to love it so much. And now they're literally counting down the days until school starts again in September. So,
Wow. I'm glad that we were able to help that
yeah.
and bring your youngest to UCC. I think having brothers being able to share the experience really is pretty wonderful, and it's going to be, hopefully it's going to be really wonderful for both of the boys and for your whole family as well. So this concludes the list of questions that I wanted to ask you. I want to thank all 3 of you for your honesty and insight into the UCC experience. I'm going to tell you, this is my 9th year here. I have learned a ton. I've taken a number of notes from what you've said today. So I want to thank Cal, Christina, and Omar. So grateful for your time, for your thoughts, and also for your pride and your passion that you have in our school. And that means a lot. And we really, you know, we're in a partnership with our families, and really it's really wonderful to hear from you. And to the families who are watching this, I'd encourage you to learn more about Upper Canada College through our kids, and of course through our website at ucc.on.ca. I want to thank all of you for tuning in. I want to say good luck with your search. We're lucky to have really wonderful schools in this city and in this country, and hopefully UCC is one of the schools that you'll consider for your son down the road. So thank you very much, and have a wonderful day.